how to put it into words. There are so many earths and so many moons and so many suns in this universe, and there are multiple universes outside the realm, that it makes you realize that each one of us are extremely tiny. We are just a blip. So I am incredibly grateful to so many people who gave me an opportunity, right? Who gave me my first internship, my first job, my first promotion, and people who patiently taught me things that I learned from, both my teachers in the academic setting, my friends and classmates, all better. But you will not be able to do that testing yourself very easily, because when the number of variants grows up so much, right? You have 500 variants, then and you're designing a test to measure the effectiveness of variant, which variant is better than the status quo variant. You can see most of those in great detail when you're a tech company, right? But when you're a food and beverage manufacturer specifically, where you are selling your products through channels which are not owned by yourself, right? So for instance, you're selling to large retailers and having big bad users in the app, right? When you're a new user, how much time does it take for them to play their first game? What is the average session duration for a new user once they come into your app? Do they play a game the first time? Segmentation was working from two sides, right? So there was this segmentation that was happening on the new user acquisition front. So what do the new user needs? What does the new user needs to accomplish in their first 30, 60, 90 days to be an extremely successful consumer or an extremely successful merchant?
So folks, you have tuned into TGV, and hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series, the world's only quadrilingual podcast at this moment of recording, and we are trying to embark into multiple languages as we speak, and here we embark on transformative conversations for a better future, and we want to simplify and amplify your journey to success. I'm your host Navin Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place by bringing you wisdom through valuable discussions with experts designed to simplify and amplify your success. And thank you so much for tuning in. Today's guest is Saurabh Kumar, a seasoned data science leader currently working at an American multinational food manufacturing company. And he has an impressive career spanning major tech companies like Meta, Uber, and also PayPal. And with a wealth of experience in AI-driven marketing, customer segmentation, and data privacy, Saurabh has led data science initiatives that have shaped how businesses interact with their customers through innovative and data-driven strategies. His insights into AI, big data, and the future of first-party data are sure to provide valuable takeaways for anyone interested in tech and marketing transformation. And today we are going to delve into an interesting conversation on the topic at hand: cracking the code, artificial intelligence, data privacy, and customer segmentation. Here's an exciting twist. First, let us tickle our guest brain. So, Saurabh, get ready for a rapid fire round of random words. I'll mention a few, and I would love to hear the first thing that comes to your mind in response without thinking much, if you're ready.
Hello, I'm Steve Ahern, one of the judges of the Asia Podcast Awards. I'm interrupting this episode to let you know that you're listening to an award-winning podcast. This podcast won its category in the 2024 Podcast Awards, so you know you're listening to quality. Enjoy your listening experience, and congratulations to the team who created this award-winning podcast for you.
Let's get started.
Thank you, Naveen. I'm excited to be a participant today. So looking forward.
All right. Sure. Let's get the ball rolling, and thank you for being here. So my first word is curiosity.
Curiosity is critical to discover new things and experiment and innovate. That's my thought on curiosity.
Invention.
Inventions are critical to ensure progress. The first thing that comes to my mind is the invention of COVID-19 vaccines. It was done in time, and it's a testament to the mankind which was able to invent a vaccine and roll it out to so many people across the globe in such rapid manner to save numerous lives.
Yeah.
So critically life-saving.
Future.
I hope for a future that is better than the past, and I hope that the world and the mankind in general works hard and strives to make the future better and helps us correct the mistakes that we have done in the past and hopefully learn from the history and not repeat those mistakes. So the future is better than the past.
Mhm. Amazing. Next is book.
One book that I have been reading recently is called The Prize. This is a book that's written by an academician,
Mhm.
and it talks about the history of the oil industry in the world and how the industry shapes geopolitics and
Mhm.
various conflicts around the world and why it is so important for the economies around the world. So it's definitely a very fascinating read. So if you've not
Okay.
got a chance, I would definitely recommend to read the
Yeah,
book, The Prize.
definitely. Definitely. And then universe.
Universe is ginormous. I do not know um, how to put it into words. There are so many Earths and so many moons and so many suns in this universe, and there are multiple universes outside the realm that it makes you realize that each one of us are extremely tiny. We are just a blip in the grand scheme of things. So we should not take ourselves too seriously.
Amazing. And then role model.
My role model is my father, who had
Mhm.
humble beginnings and very limited resources, and he still had the vision to realize the value of good education. And he made sure that he did not leave any stone unturned to make sure that both me and my sister, as well as some of my cousins and my family, had the best opportunity available to us, and that uh, financial resources were not a bottleneck to
Right.
accomplishing that future. So definitely very inspiring, and I look up to him always.
Success.
Success is a stage in your journey, and we should strive for success. But at the same time, it is important to realize that life comes with ups and downs, and it is not always the same. So, to enjoy the sweet fruit of success, one needs to go through pain, one needs to go through sorrow, one needs to go through joy. And the idea is that we should enjoy all of these different stages as we encounter them towards the final destination, which is success.
Innovation.
Innovation is critical for growth. If you stop innovating, then you would stop growing. And if you stop growing, then you slowly die. So it's very important for an organization, for a company, for an individual to strive to innovate.
Trust.
Trust is very easy to lose and extremely hard to build. So it's really important to realize that one small mistake, one small error can cost people dearly. And
Yeah.
so they should really value the importance of trust because it takes a long time to build trust. And it's very quick to lose all of the trust that you've built over years.
All right. And here comes the last one, algorithms.
Algorithms are everywhere. And we strive to understand as many as we could. And if you can't, then you're just um, you're just in a play that is being orchestrated by algorithms
Yeah.
around.
Amazing. And Saurabh, thank you so much for participating in the first rapid fire round. And there is one more rapid fire round towards the end of the episode. So stay tuned. And Saurabh, hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Naveen. Thank you.
All right. So pleasure to have you. And let's get the ball rolling. And we'll begin with your guiding voice. So share with us who is your guiding voice.
I mean, my guiding voice personally is my own inner self.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I'm trying to make a decision, then will my inner self, my own soul, be uh, uncomfortable making a decision? Or will it be comfortable making a decision? Can I sleep peacefully after I have made a particular decision? So that's the most critical one. And it is governed by a lot of things. It's governed by the trust that I have built with so many constituents, so many people around myself, be it my employer, be it my friends, be it my social circle. It is the faith that I have in the in an in the God, right?
Right.
Am I doing something that I would not be uh, able to justify to the higher power? And if that's the answer is yes, then I would not go and do that stuff. So it's important for me to stay true to myself and rely on my guiding voice in both good and bad and difficult times.
Okay, got it. And let's talk about your success mantra, as in share with us the top 3 things that have contributed to your success in your journey so far.
Absolutely. I think the number one thing that contributed to my success was luck. I was born in a family that had the vision to realize the value of education. They had the financial means to enable me to go to the best schools and best learning environments. So that definitely conditioned my upbringing and helped me build a very solid foundation based on which everything else was built upon. Right. The second thing that has contributed to my success is the kindness of others. So I am incredibly grateful to so many people who gave me an opportunity, right? Who gave me my first internship, my first job, my first promotion, and people who patiently taught me things that I learned from, both my teachers in the academic setting, my friends and classmates in the school, as well as when I went to the engineering college, then my professors and my classmates who helped me understand very complicated concepts and clear exams. And in a professional setting, my supervisors, my managers, as well as my coworkers, who I always look up to, who really played a very critical role in forming the foundation based on which my career journey was built. So definitely grateful for that. And finally, the third thing is myself, right? My own work, my own efforts, which basically magnified the luck and the kindness of others, right? When you start contributing, when you start improving on your own craft, then others see value in the work that you're doing. And then, as they say, the world conspires to make sure that you are successful because your success is tied together with the success of others. So, how can you take everyone together and succeed together? So, those are the 3 things, right? Luck, uh, kindness of others, and your own hard work and efforts.
I love the second point to the core, and I appreciate your modesty, because we often overlook certain things. Okay, like the first person who hired us, and you have beautifully put. I loved it really. And Saurabh, let's move on. You have worked with some major companies like big brands like PayPal, Meta, and Uber. So, how did customer segmentation differ across these platforms or companies, and what core strategies did you find most effective in terms of driving business outcomes?
Absolutely. So, of course, I have worked at several of these companies, and these companies were at different stages of maturity or growth, if you will, right? So, starting from PayPal, right? So, I was there. When I was there, PayPal was already a very successful, very um, mature company, but at the same time, it was also growing. It was growing very well. We were still growing our revenues and our total payment volume close to 20% compound annual growth, which is amazing, right? It is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of emphasis at PayPal to not only look at new user acquisition from a consumer and from a merchant standpoint, but also look at preventing uh, churn or preventing um, behavior from customers or merchants where they were slowly reducing their usage of the product, right? So the approach towards segmentation was working from 2 sides, right? So
Yeah.
there was this segmentation that was happening on the new user acquisition front. So what do the new user um, needs? What does the new user needs to accomplish in their first 30, 60, 90 days to be an extremely successful consumer or an extremely successful merchant, right? So how do you create these different user journeys and track them? And predominantly, we used to rely a lot on email marketing to assist the user to do their hand holding, right? How can they add their bank account? How can they add their funding source? How can they update their account on the PayPal page so that the risk flags do not go off, etc. Right. So that was one area of customer segmentation that we were working on, where we were limited to new user and new user journey alone. The other aspect was around looking at the seasoned merchants and seasoned PayPal consumers who had been with the company for at least 1 year, right, or more than 1 year, and we would look at them by the size of the merchant, right? So we would segment them looking at if a company is a large enterprise, then they are doing X $1 million or more, whether they are a small and medium business. And within that, there are different segmentation, which were done based on the total payment that they were sending through the PayPal pipes. And then whether they were doing microtransactions, right? So we had come up with a unique pricing methodology for microtransactions. At the time, WhatsApp used to be an independent company and used to use PayPal. So we had come up with a pricing where we would do 5% plus 5 cents for every transaction. And if you may remember, WhatsApp used to charge like $1 to renew the subscription in Europe as well as in the Western countries at that time, or €1 or $1. That was the fee that they used to charge. So that was the approach at PayPal, right? Now, Meta was at a similar stage as PayPal, but of course, much larger company, and predominantly making money through advertisers who would advertise on Facebook, right? So looking at the universe of merchants or advertisers who use Meta, there was a very long tail of small and medium businesses who used to use Meta. So how do you kind of sub-segment within that small and medium business segment the different types of advertisers? There are a large uh, group of advertisers who need to be given self-serve solutions because it is not economical to talk to these advertisers one-on-one. And then there are more sophisticated, larger advertisers who do need more handheld support. So you do offer them that support. And also there are a lot of companies which we partnered with. So for example, the Shopifys of the world, the WooCommerces of the world, the Magentos of the world, the Adobes of the world, which built solutions which made the lives of our advertisers easier. So for instance, Shopify is a huge constituent of advertisers or merchants who sell on Shopify. So if we want to make a change that impacts those advertisers en masse, then Shopify is an excellent company to partner with, right? So where we saw how the integration happened, the conversion API, product rollout, etc. It was very seamless once it was rolled out for Shopify advertisers or Shopify merchants by Shopify, as well as WooCommerce, etc. So far as Uber was concerned, Uber was a very high growth startup when I was there, and the emphasis was a lot on new user acquisition. So how do you acquire new users all the time? That was what was most important for us. And we realized along our journey that apart from new user acquisition, it is also important to resurrect or retain users who had activated at some point but do not use the product anymore. And we had a huge churn problem as well, right? So a lot of drivers specifically would sign up to drive for Uber and then would stop driving in the next 6 months or so. So how do you bring them back onto the platform? And yes, you do need to continue to give them the incentives. You need to continue to get new drivers all the time in order to grow the active drivers and make a great experience for the riders. But at the same time, I had this learning that it is incredibly hard to go after users who have become dormant or users who use your product at one point and do not use it anymore. It is extremely hard. We did not find a lot of success in resurrecting users whenever we tried to do that. So those are some of the different approaches to segmentation, some of my learnings working at these companies.
Mhm. Got it. Very well explained. And let's move forward to the next one. Like, I'm curious in terms of understanding how this customer segmentation in a tech-driven environment compared to that in more traditional industries like food and beverages.
Absolutely. So, see, inherently, the customer segmentation exercise can be extremely granular or extremely high level, depending on the level of data that you have access to, right? So, when you talk about a food and beverage industry and compare that to a tech company, the key difference is that the tech company owns its data at every single step, right? So, right from the time that a consumer signs up to the time they activate to the time they start transacting, you can see most of those in great detail when you're a tech company, right? But when you're a food and beverage manufacturer specifically, where you are selling your products through channels which are not owned by yourself, right? So, for instance, you are selling through large retailers who are having big presence, in the brick and mortar space in the retail industry, as well as who have big websites which they use to push your products. Then you are kind of on their mercy for the data.
Yeah.
You do not have a whole lot of first party data, right? So then it becomes very difficult to do optimizations which are extremely granular, right? Because the data that you're getting is usually, in best case scenario, you can get daily level sales data, but the sales data would be at a product level. You would not know which consumer bought what product in what quantity from you precisely. Yes, there are ways, there are companies that do sell, some sort of projected data for you to try to say, okay, I can pool X number of consumer receipts and then try to project what the sale will was in this period. But you still do not have as much granular data when you are a food and beverage manufacturer. So that's one of the key differences. The fundamentals still remain the same. Despite having access to extremely granular data at these tech companies, they have the opposite problem, right? They have too much data. So they don't know what to do with that data. And then the companies which do have limited data, they have another problem where we do not have sufficient data to try to run some of the more proactive experimentation that we would like to run if we had that kind of granular data, if we had our own owned channels. So that's the
Saurabh, now I have a different question here. Like, for a startup, okay, who's trying to implement this customer segmentation from scratch, right? What will be your advice?
Absolutely. So you need to understand as a startup that at what stage you are right now, right? Like, how much money are you spending towards new user acquisition? How many, or even if are you even spending any money for new user acquisition? That's also a question. Startups can be at various stages, right? So, for instance, one of my friends, he is building a startup. He's built a game, and the name of the website is SMAQQ, smack.in. So you can go to Android Play Store and download that app, right? So I was talking to this friend of mine, and it requires a lot of investment to even pull off an app, right? So the app is pulled off, it's ready, but they do not have the sufficient funding right now to be able to fuel new user acquisition, right? So they're primarily he's primarily visiting various schools across the country and trying to see if he can, get partnerships going with these schools so that the students start using the Smack app. Now, basically, what the app does is it's a game, right? It basically helps students compete with each other in a gamified manner, but it includes questions related to the curriculum, what they study in their classes, right? So now, for a company like that, what will he look at? He needs to look at how many new users are coming to his app, how many returning users are coming to his app, and what is the time spent by the users in the app, right? When you're a new user, how much time does it take for them to play their first game? What is the average session duration for a new user once they come into your app? Do they play a game the first time they log in, they give their email address, or is it that it takes them a while to figure it out? So understanding those things are crucial for a startup like the one that I just described. The reason I described that startup is because you have to highly customize your approach, right? Once you're getting a little bit more seasoned, then you can start thinking about, okay, this user came and signed up but never activated. Let me try to reach them and see what can we do. So I read a very interesting, blog post from one of the founders of Duolingo, and they talk about what are some of the key frameworks that they use to do customer segmentation. And I thought that was very useful for any startup founder or any big seasoned company to go read, right? Like, it was a very, very intricate, messy framework that they have built where one stage feeds the another, and you can literally add all the sum of the parts to get to the total. And how do you proactively monitor each stage of your funnel, if you will? So that's very critical for startups to also understand.
Perfect. Okay, and how can companies avoid common pitfalls when deploying AI in their marketing effort? Because AI is everywhere and people are trying to embed AI, right? And so especially from the marketing perspective, what are some common pitfalls?
So the biggest one I see when deploying AI, not only from a marketing standpoint, but from any standpoint, is to stress test the results that AI is giving you. How can you make sure that you are stress testing, quality checking the outputs? Because if AI generated some text, for example, for the creator, there is an obvious mistake, and you go ahead and release it for the broader world, then it can cost you your reputation. It can cost you your trust. So it is extremely critical to do that stress testing of whatever the AI output you are getting that you're hoping to reuse or use in your efforts, right? So that's very important. So you can either have AI itself check its own work, or you can do that and then have seasoned human beings take a look at the output before releasing it in the broader world. So that is extremely important. The other area where I see challenges is that AI can be very good at releasing multiple variants at the same time. So let us say that AI generates 500 variants for you for a creative, right? And now you want to run those 500 variants, but it is extremely hard for you to know which variant amongst these 500 variants is the best performing variant, because you'll have to rely on the black box, right? You'll have to rely on the Facebooks and the Googles of the world to start optimizing the creative based on which creative is performing better. But you will not be able to do that testing yourself very easily, because when the number of variants grows up so much, right? You have 500 variants, then, and you're designing a test to measure the effectiveness of which variant is better than the status quo variant, then the p-value that is required is called Bonferroni correction in experimentation. So you take the p-value and you divide that by the number of variants. So that p-value that you need is extremely small. It's close to zero, right? When you have 500 variants. So it's incredibly difficult to measure which of those 500 variants is the best performing variant. So it's impossible, right? So sometimes you should not even try. We should try to say, okay, fine. We have the control group and we have these 500 variants. And I want to see 500 variants together, how did they perform compared to the control group, as opposed to trying to find the best variant from within the 500. It's kind of a exercise that you will never succeed at. So it's important to realize and not think that everything will be figured out by AI itself. AI is there, but there's a reason the people who are controlling it are human beings. So always rely on the first principles and your foundational knowledge before making a decision.
Love it. And see, these days, there is more emphasis on the personalized marketing, right? And how do we have this balance between maintaining this customer privacy and at the same time delivering personalized marketing, right? Can we use AI to help bridging that particular gap?
Look, there are a lot of efforts that are in the works to balance delivering personalized marketing and maintaining customer privacy. And AI is being used definitely to help bridge that gap. So for instance, if you may have heard about the iOS 14.2 changes that Apple rolled out, where you would get a pop-up in whether you want an app to follow your activity across the internet, and they seek your approval as a user. Apple does, right? So in the US, at least 80% of the people said, I do not want this app to follow along whatever I'm doing on the internet, right? So now it's extremely hard to get that signal that at a consumer level for these companies, right? As well as a lot of browsers have deprecated or are going to deprecate the cookies, right?
Right. Yeah.
That route is also gone, right? You cannot do that micro level optimization and targeting that you were able to do earlier. So as a result, as a response, a lot of the tech companies, including Facebook, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Pinterest, all these companies Google have launched some of the other version of a product called Conversion API. What this does is it allows the advertiser to directly share the data around users who come to the advertiser's website, right? And then they can share it with these ad platforms, and the ad platforms can work together with the advertiser to say, hey, look, this user who you say came and checked out this particular product on your website had seen your ad on my platform within the last 7 days or whatever. So that helps them with better attribution. It helps them with better, revenue realization, calculate more accurate, how effectively those ad platforms are working or not working for the advertiser, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, where does AI come into the picture, right? So think of this: 80% of the iPhone users have said that they do not want the app to know, what their activity is around the internet. But there are approaches that are being developed currently where they would look at users who have Android phones and try to mimic their
Mhm.
behavior to create some synthetic data as to how the iPhone users would, who are similar to those Android phone users, would behave, right? In a
Yeah.
scenario where they have decided to not be followed. And also looking at historical behavior of users who have an iPhone, how did they behave in the past when they were new to an app? That's information can help operates to try to build models to mimic the user behavior. And personally, I feel that do not follow me around on the internet type messaging that Apple is so proactively promoting. Um, on one hand, they do promote that to shut out everyone else from following people, while they themselves are able to follow users' activity across different apps. There is no way for you to say no to Apple
Right.
knowing that data,
Mm.
which is kind of a ridiculous thing, right? You are shutting out
Yeah.
everyone else, and you're saying I am the most noble actor in this ecosystem who should have control of this data, and then I'll monetize that data. So that's what predominantly they're trying to do.
Hmm. Wonderful. And Saurabh, you mentioned about cookies, right? And I think companies started phasing out the usage of third-party cookies. So, what strategies do you recommend for effectively leveraging first-party data in this scenario?
Absolutely. So first party data, as I mentioned, right, when you integrate a product like Conversion API, you can
Mhm.
effectively share your first party data with your ad platform, and then the ad platform can tell you what
Mm.
percentage of users who visited your site and did
Right.
XY actions on your site
Mm.
had seen an ad. So that gives you much better idea of which ad platform is doing better for you. And when you implement something like a Conversion API, it's important to realize that you should not kill the third party cookie route completely. So you can keep parallel paths, right? One path is Conversion API, one path is the third party cookie. Keep both of them alive, and then the combination works better than just having a Conversion API. Because so far as the third party cookie is going away is concerned, I know Chrome kept pushing the ball down the road and eventually came out with the announcement that they will not phase out third party cookies. And Chrome constitutes or comprises a large percentage of the internet traffic.
Yeah.
So party cookies are not completely going away. Yes, browsers like Firefox, Safari, and others have definitely deprecated third-party cookies. So it is important to still rely on remedies like Conversion API while still benefiting from third-party cookies where they're available.
Yeah. Got it. Interesting times ahead. And this has been fabulous conversation so far. And Saurabh, it's time for us to add some more spice and some more excitement to the episode. If you're ready, let's kick off the second rapid fire round.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
It would say nothing. It would have a phone number. It would be a white billboard. I think I've seen it somewhere.
Uh-huh.
A way for people to kind of different distinguish themselves from the other
Mm.
gigantic billboards that try
Mm.
to say it.
Interesting. And can you describe yourself in just one word?
I would say I'm curious. I'm always
Mm.
trying to take it around and learn about new things.
Okay. And one AI major breakthrough that you are super excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest one for me is the ability of artificial intelligence to combine various agents,
Mm.
AI to accomplish extremely complicated tasks, right?
Mm.
So think of a task that requires us 3 months to complete as human beings. And if you unleash an AI that can work for 3 months, hopefully it
Mm.
will take them less than 3 months to do the
Right.
same task. But the real power of AI will be uncovered when multiple independent agents can break down the task into small, manageable chunks and then accomplish a much better output. The most recent O1 Strawberry release from ChatGPT also talks about that, right? That
Yeah.
you can leave the machine to think. The machine can
Yeah.
think not only for the minute, but it can even think for 3 months.
Yeah.
So I'm excited that maybe this way we can have a cure for diseases like cancer soon,
Right.
because then human creativity will have
Hmm.
no limitation. You can
Right.
design a problem statement in a good manner, define it well, and then feed it to the machine to figure it out. Of course, it's a lot simpler, a lot more complicated than I'm making it sound, but hopefully.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. Makes sense. And then one career lesson that you learned at Uber.
One key career lesson for myself that I learned at Uber was that when your career is going at a great trajectory,
Hmm.
there's nothing wrong. You should kind of enjoy that tailwind for a little while. So maybe I should have stayed at Uber for a little bit longer than I did, and that would have helped me in the long run. The other thing that I'll share too, actually, the other thing was that the fundamentals are still the same. Whether you're doing a large budget of $1 billion a year or you're doing a small budget of $1 million a year, the basics are still the same.
Right.
So still basics. The rest is easy. That's what I would say. Was the key
Yeah.
career lesson.
And what is the best advice for aspiring data scientists?
The best advice for aspiring data scientists is that do not typecast yourself into just a
Mhm.
data scientist. Right?
Right.
Think from a business perspective. Think from a person who has their own company, who has their own startup. Right? Do not get typecasted into a specific role. You should be willing to wear the hat of a data engineer. You should be willing to wear the hat of a marketer, of a product manager. So how can you solve a problem? And that is more important than being typecasted into a specific function. Is my suggestion. Right?
Yeah.
Think about solving problems. The how part, you can figure it out.
Yeah.
But
I simply love it. That's amazing. Don't typecast yourself. Not only to a particular role, right? It happens in most scenarios wherein people try to mimic somebody else's path and they try to be somebody else, right? So yeah, powerful, such a powerful one. I loved it. And here comes the last one for the second rapid fire. What is one electronic gadget that you like to see or invent yourself?
I would love to invent a machine that lets me travel in time, right? Time travel.
Time machine. Got it. Got it. All right. Let's flip back to the mainstream. And what will be your one piece of advice to those aspiring to make big in a tech career?
I would say, first of all, the aspiration is not right. Rather than trying to aspire to make it big in your career, you should aspire to become an excellent craftsman or craftswoman at whatever you are doing. Right? How much value can you add? And once you accomplish that, once you're very good at your craft, the rest of the things will fall in place. Believe me. Chasing something like a big is not a very very good plan, in my opinion. It's important to become extremely good at your craft and see how much value do you add. And if you can add a lot of value, if you're extremely good at your craft, people will seek and make sure that you make it big in your career as well. And there are many other ways to make it big. You don't. It need not be in your career. It can be in something else. You can build something of your own. Um, so the possibilities are endless.
Superb. I love it. And I enjoyed the conversation thoroughly. And how is your experience being hosted on TGV, the guiding voice?
No, absolutely. I loved it. Honestly, I was not extremely, I did not have a lot of time to prepare myself ahead of this podcast. And I thought that it went much better than I anticipated it would go from my personal perspective. And I was able to field almost all of your questions pretty easily. And you made sure that we have an easygoing conversation. So thank you for that. And thank you for inviting me and doing this.
All right. So pleasure to have you and looking forward to hosting you many more times in future with a lot of exciting stuff. Thank you once again. Folks, that was our episode with Saurabh Kumar, who is a seasoned data scientist And before we jump into the fun trivia section, we have a quick request. In case if you haven't already subscribed to our podcast, please subscribe. And also, if you have enjoyed the conversation and found it useful, please share with at least three of your friends or colleagues who would also like TGV, the guiding voice. So spread the knowledge and help others grow just like you. Now it's time for us to hop into the trivia segment. And today's trivia is about two lesser known facts about customer segmentation, and especially the origins of customer segmentation. And first one is, there are historical roots in 1920s laid for the consumer research. And while customer segmentation is often seen as a modern marketing practice, its origins trace back to the early 20th century, where companies like General Motors pioneered market segmentation, and Alfred P. Sloan, then president of GM, recognized it the recognized it that creating distinct brands for different consumer needs. Example, Cadillac for luxury and then Chevrolet for affordability would maximize profits and also consumer satisfaction. And this marked one of the first uses of demographic based segmentation. Second is about psychographic segmentation, emerged from World War II research. Psychographic segmentation, which focuses on lifestyle, values, and personality, has roots in World War II era psychological research. And during the war, government agencies and academic researchers during the war, government agencies and academic researchers studied human behavior to influence public opinion and propaganda. And after the war, these insights were adapted for marketing purposes, giving rise to a new form of customer segmentation based on psychological traits. So that's it for today. I would love to know if you are aware of any other interesting facts about customer segmentation, or if you know any technology which is influencing the customer segmentation at large. Do let me know in the form of comments. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, or if you found it episode on some social media platform, you can comment there as well. So folks, that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and also for being part of our awesome TGV family. Until next time, take care, stay inspired, and remember, the best is yet to come. Goodbye for now. See you all in the next episode with another amazing guest. Take care. Love you all. Bye-bye.